This tag is really hard. Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Books and Bargains. I'm filming this video at about 9 p.m. at night. Thought it would be cooler now. I'm still melting slightly. Have my window open, so if you hear random noises, I apologise, but it is far too hot to have it closed. Today I'm coming to you with the mid-year freakout tag, and I know I'm probably the last booktuber to do this, and I'm about 2 months late with it. But I asked on Instagram if you'd still like to see it, and the overwhelming majority said yes, so here we go. I have tried to pick a different book for every prompt, but I will just point out that there are 2 books that could have filled most of these prompts. So let's get into the questions. Question 1 is best book you've read so far in 2020. And for me, that has to be Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This book had basically everything that I want from a romance. I have read a lot of romance and I was kind of a bit on the fence because I like smut, but more books that I've read that are just smut, I get a bit bored because I don't like the storyline. And then a lot of romances that I read have the kind of fade to black sex scenes, which I'm an adult, I'm a 30-year-old woman, I can deal with a bit of descriptive sex in a book. So this book just had it perfect. It's a friends to lovers fake dating trope, which I'd never read before and didn't think would be my thing, but it was. Sorry if the angle has changed slightly, my battery just died. So it's centred around Dani Brown, and this is the second. It's a companion novel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and it's the first time, but not the only time this year, that I've enjoyed the second book more than the first. I usually find in a trilogy that book 1 and 3 are generally good and 2 is just a bit of filler, but because this follows the 3 sisters in their own stories, I was just amazed by it. That I could literally go on all day talking about this book, so I'm going to move on. Number 2 is best sequel you've read so far this year, and again this could have 3 answers. A, it could definitely be Take a Hint, Dani Brown. B, it could be another book that I'm going to show later, but I've gone with Noah Could Never by Simon James Green. I will preface this by saying I've only just read this month and some of the themes in this were ridiculous, but I think that's why I liked it. I had to suspend my disbelief a lot. But I don't really want to say too much about this because I don't want to give any spoilers for book 1. However, what I will say is if you are a fan of the In-Betweeners and you kind of laugh behind your hands / cringe a little bit at some of the things that Will gets up to, but imagine if Will was a young gay man coming to terms with his sexuality. That's all I can tell you really. But yeah, really enjoyed that book. Question 3 is new release you haven't read yet but would like to. And for that I've gone with Dean Atter's Black Flamingo. I read Pride this year and in there was, I think, either a story or a poem from Dean Atter and really loved their writing. This book has been everywhere on BookTube. It's got this beautiful shiny cover. I think I have personally bought about 7 copies of this book because I've bought it for a lot of the BB Birthday Book Club. I don't really know much about it. Michael waits in the stage wings wearing a pink wig, pink fluffy coat and black heels. One more step will see him illuminated by spotlight. He's been on a journey of bravery to get here and he's almost ready to show himself to the world in bold colours. Can he emerge as the Black Flamingo? So I'm looking forward to getting into that. The next question is most anticipated release from the second half of this year. So I thought I'd just talk you through a few books that I have on pre-order. The first one is Yvette Cooper's She Speaks, and this is women's speeches that change the world from Pankhurst to Greta. I don't know if you've noticed recently, but I am really trying to up my game as an activist, and I wanted to hear speeches from women that came before me. I'm really hoping that this has a good mix of both white women and black women. I've been listening to Why I'm No Longer Talking to Black People About Race, and that has really opened my eyes to intersectional feminism and why white feminists are not doing enough. but that's a topic for another time. I also have Yusra Iman's Hijabs and Red Lipstick, which is marketed as kind of a YA about a young Muslim girl who, let me just read what it says. It says, "You cannot do anything in this country without my permission. Being a teenager isn't easy, and it doesn't help when you have a mega strict Egyptian dad who tells you that everything is haram. All Sarah wants to do is experiment with makeup and read fashion magazines, but her dad's conservative interpretation of Islam makes it impossible." And this isn't something that I've ever read in YA before. I've been reading It's Not About the Burqa this month, and that's really opened my eyes to Muslim women's voices, so I'm looking forward to seeing that in a YA context. And thirdly, I'm also really excited about the release of Jacqueline Wilson's newest book, Love Frankie. You know that I'm a Jacqueline Wilson hoarder, and this is the first time Jacqueline Wilson has written a gay character. I don't know much about it other than that. I think that it's been a long time coming from one of the best loved children's authors, but again, that's not for this video. And I haven't pre-ordered that, but I will look to get my hands on a copy of it later in the year. Question 5 is biggest disappointment, and for me, this has to be Where the Crawdads Sing. I can't find my copy, but I know that I've kept it somewhere. But, okay, so this book did get better, and the second 2/3 of it were really good, and it had some 5-star moments for me. I loved the main character, but I think, as I said in a wrap-up, all the men were a bit of a wet lettuce, and I don't like the fact that the author seemed to think that to make a woman a strong character, you had to kind of water down all the male characters. I would have much rather her being a character that was surviving on her own and, you know, being that kick-ass female character without everyone else around her having to be watered down. Also, I almost DNF'd this book after the first 100 pages because I was so bored, and everybody else that I've spoke to seems to have loved it, and I've even had people say to me that I just didn't get it. I did, and I think it was from part 2 it started to get good, but it could have just started from part 2. I didn't need the first 100 pages, and I'm going to stick to that. You're not going to change my mind. My biggest surprise of this year has been Mel Darban's Rosie Loves Jack. I picked this up expecting it to be a really kind of fluffy and light YA novel about Rosie, who's a young girl with Down syndrome who runs away from home and travels from London to Brighton to follow her boyfriend Jack, who's been taken into a behavioural facility for his anger problems. But this book gets dark. This is really dark, and there are content warnings for a lot of things which I will put down below, but it got to me, this book did, and I was rooting for Rosie the whole way through. I would love to see another book with Rosie. This was just one of those books where I felt like the character was a real person, like I could imagine what she'd be doing off the page as well, which to me makes a character completely stand out. If even after the book is finished, I can wonder what they're doing now. The next question is favourite new author, debut or new to you? And again, I could have picked Talia Hibbert, I could have picked Simon James Green, I could have picked Beth O'Leary, but I'm actually going to go for Callan Bayron of Cinderella is Dead. Do believe that this is her debut novel, and it was blurred by Bridget Kamara, which obviously I was going to love it. If you don't know about this one by now, you obviously haven't watched any of my recent videos, so I will link them below. But joking aside, this book is, I thought that it was going to be a retelling of Cinderella, but it was actually so much better. We are in modern times, and it's been 200 years since Cinderella felt her prince, and this city kind of takes Cinderella story as the Bible, and that is how girls are meant to meet their Prince Charming at the ball. If they don't go to the ball, they're disposed of. Our main character Sophia decides that actually no, that's not what she wants to do. She is gay and doesn't want to meet a man, and we go from there. So wholly recommend this book. Question 7 is newest fictional crush, and I have 2, and they are both from this book, and that is Commander Grey and also Leah Mara. I feel like as a pansexual woman, I am doing myself justice here by picking a male and a female crush. But if I had to pick one over the other, sorry Gray, it would be Leah Mara. Leah Mara is just one of those people that I don't know if I want to be with or be. The next question is a book that made you cry. And I have only just finished reading it, but With the Fire on High had me in actual tears at more than one point. Tears of both happiness and sadness, but also just feeling so much for the character. Imani is just, like I said about Rosie, just one of those characters that even after I finish the book, I'm wondering what she's doing next, and I would love a sequel to this book. Please, Elizabeth Acevedo, please release that. Elizabeth Acevedo could also be new favourite author. For a book that made you happy, I'm going with Melt My Heart by Bethany Rutter. I read this book via NetGalley and then got my hands on my own paperback copy because I just had to have it. And look at those illustrations on the front. Lily is a twin and her twin sister is thin and she is fat and fabulous. And the book doesn't focus on her dieting, doesn't focus on anything like that. It focuses most on the fact that she is bisexual and comes to terms with her sexuality. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. One of the things that I loved about this book is that it had so much diverse representation that was just there. She had a gay uncle who was just gay. It wasn't him coming out. It wasn't anything to do with that. He was just there. And this book made me really happy, and I suggest you go and buy it right now. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And this has to be one that I received for my birthday, and that is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie McKeesey. It's just such gorgeous illustrations. I mean, that one just in the front is gorgeous. In fact, I might settle down and read this when I finish filming this video. And the last question is, what books do you need to finish by the end of the year? And I have a TBR that is now over 500 books. So I need to finish the books that I am reviewing for publishers. They're my top priority. I also want to get through my NetGalley backlist. But I thought for this prompt I would pick a book that intimidates me. And I've put it on 2 TBRs so far this year already and not read it. So if anybody would like to buddy read this with me, that would be really good because it would push me into reading it sooner. And that is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Victoria sent me this and she's told me how brilliant it is. But it's a chunky book, and I think because it's not my usual genre and so many people have told me that it's good, it scares me a little bit. So that one, I am committing to get this read before the end of the year. So that's all for this video. Have you done the mid-year freakout tag? I'm not going to tag anybody because I think most people have done it by now. But if you do want to do it, go ahead. I would love to see that. Hopefully I haven't melted into too much of a puddle. The next video that goes up after this will be my July book haul, which has taken me an absolute age to edit, but I know you guys are looking forward to it. So that's all for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe below as it means the world to me. And until next time, look after yourselves. Bye.